God, fucking hurry up, will you? Jesus.
Welcome to the Rewind Classic Movies podcast about 80s and 90s movies. We probably... Oh, fucking hell. Here we go.
Well, fuck it.
Welcome to the Rewind Classic Movies podcast about 80s and 90s movies we probably saw as kids, even if we weren't old enough to fully understand the adult themes. I'm GB, and with me is my co-host, AJ.
Hi. Once again, I am indeed being AJ, but with added clothes. This week, Alcatraz is being reopened. And in other news, we are reviewing The Rock, which just happens to be about James Bond breaking into Alcatraz, a maximum security prison in California with added biological weapons.
I thought for a moment then you said James Bond. We'll gloss over it. Directed by Michael Bay, who just had huge success with his first feature film, a little movie called Bad Boys with William Smith. The Rock cost $75 million and was released in 1996. That was about 5 years ago. It would go on to make over $330 million. And weirdly, for a Michael Bay film, it got pretty good reviews from almost everyone. It's his second most popular film on Rotten Tomatoes, behind, any guesses, AJ?
No? Not Bad Boys?
The number one most popular Michael Bay film on Rotten Tomatoes is Ambulance. Have you seen that one?
What?
2022. It is quite good. And weirdly, that's his least successful movie, making only $50 million. Anyway, Bay made this movie, The Rock, aged just 30 years old. Like a small wee boy compared to us now.
Wow.
And would go on to make a whole series of terrible Transformers movies. It was the fourth most successful movie of 96 and would win minor awards for Best Sound and Best On-Screen Duo for Cage and Connery. AJ, what in the name of ZEUS's butthole does this movie mean to you? Maybe just throughout this podcast, we should just randomly go Cage and, just be talking about something and then...
What in the name of ZEUS's butthole? It's great. It's such a great line. Man, I've no idea when I first saw this film. I've seen it, I've seen it numerous times. I've definitely quite a few times. I've not seen it in a while though, but I was really glad to revisit it because I know I like it. I know it's, guaranteed action start to finish. It's typical James Bay.
We're going to carry that on, right?
Yep. We are. Yeah, it's James Bay from now on. It's just James Bay. Hold back the river. It is just full on action. What about you?
I think it must have been about 15 when I first saw this, which is prime Michael Bay audience. I mean, he once sort of pushed back on the critics. He has a fair few of them. And he once said, look, I make movies for teenage boys. Not the kind of thing I'd have in mind. But I always think of it as a film that I really like and I've seen a lot of times. I suspect after watching it this time, I might only have seen it a handful of times and just really enjoyed it, those few. But let's talk about the start of the movie.
Oh, man. Right. Music.
What a fucking start. This movie
oh my God. You just bam, bam, bam. Right. So the music starts and it's all that sort of military stirring kind of thing. They're burying someone there at a graveyard, military graveyard. It's pissing down with rain. Then you've got interdispersed with bits of choppers and then radio chatter, get my men out of here, etc., etc. Some shit's going down. You've got this guy getting dressed and he's putting on his military uniform and that's interesting. He's obviously going to the funeral, but then he ends up going to his wife's grave. And he looks down at his wife's grave and says, don't think any less of me. Where are we going with this? And he leaves this, I don't know, some sort of star medal, medal of honor. I don't know, some sort of medal thing he leaves on his wife's grave. It's this is getting weird. And then it cuts to some facility that they're raiding. And it's the guy, just say anything, say something from Seven.
Somebody call somebody.
Somebody call somebody.
Say anything is what David Fincher said to John C. McGinley in the ADR room.
That's the one. He was there in the helicopter. It's him. And it's it's that guy. And it's what's going on here? Is this an exercise? And then there was this cut to this guy as like a sort of Viking-looking character with an automatic rifle. It's like he looks like a bad guy. This isn't an exercise. He's up to something. They've all got access cards. Someone shouts out, 2400 mad check. Like, what does that even mean? Music's just non-stop at this point. It's just almost overpowering the action, the music. They're in this refrigerated storage, so it's obviously biological weapons, bio stuff's going on. There's a good close-up of the X on the missile, and then shot to the roof. There's fucking icicles hanging down off the roof of this storage unit. There's a HSE fucking nightmare right there. You're in a bioweapon storage, you've got these icicles hanging off the roof if they just, fall. And then someone obviously kicks one of the weapons and these green balls fall out. And he's like, seal the door. And his face starts melting and the music's happening. And it's like, hang on a minute, surely there'd be deadlocks on these missiles. These green balls wouldn't fall out. And then there's shooting and there's stuff. And it's like, Christ. And it's like, this guy's boiling up on his face and go, fucking hell, that's just the beginning. Like, it's just, bam, Michael Bay, let's go. Hold on, boys and girls. How'd you find it?
Absolutely amazing opening. Ed Harris is fantastic in the opening of this. Watched it with my partner, and she was like, I don't know if he's good or if he's bad.
Yes.
And we kind of know, having watched it already, that he's kind of grey. It's not quite black and white.
I'd say he's very dark grey.
Dark grey. We'll go with dark grey.
Yeah.
In that opening scene, they don't kill anyone. They use tranquilizer darts or whatever it is. And his whole plan, I suppose, is to do the thing peacefully and never actually launch it. But we'll go with dark grey. But those three sort of back-to-back intense scenes, you've got the military operation, the grave section, the raid on the military compound, and then the lab with Nicolas Cage. All that before we get a breather. And then we go back to Nicolas Cage in his apartment, finding out his missus is pregnant. It's relentless opening.
It is. Exactly. It's relentless. That's exactly it. It is just relentless. It does not stop. And the music carries it as well. The music, without the music, I think the music at least adds 50% to the pace of it all, because it's really loud and really prominent in all the scenes.
I've got a few things to say about music this week.
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Not all of them complimentary. But yes, great opening. Let's talk about how this movie came to be. The script for this, or the process of how it came to be a shooting script, is a fucking mess. It's ridiculous. The amount of people who worked on
Sounds like Hollywood.
Well, yeah, classic, but possibly worse. I mean, it's kind of unknown, really, how many people worked on it, but it became a massive dispute with the Writers Guild of America because possibly not all the right people got credit. Tarantino worked on it. Aaron Sorkin worked on it. Connery got Dick Clement and Ian LaFrennay, if that's how you pronounce his name, to rewrite his lines. But they ended up rewriting other people's dialogue as well, apparently. And what's funny is when you realise they wrote things, LaFrennay and Clement, they wrote things like Porridge in the 70s, Auf Wiedersehen Pet in the 80s, and Lovejoy in the 90s.
Like UK daytime TV stuff. That's so funny.
Yeah, which if you're not familiar with UK TV, they're quite light-hearted, safe British sitcoms.
Oh my God.
Bay also worked closely on the script with writer Jonathan Hensley, who would do Die Hard with a Vengeance, Jumanji, and eventually Armageddon. But he didn't get credit either. So Bay was pissed off and wrote an open letter of protest and criticised the whole arbitration process that goes on and just called it a sham, which is quite ballsy for a second-time director. Tony Scott was the original director, but turned it down.
I can see that. I can totally see this being a Tony Scott film. I mean, it fits the remit, exactly. It does.
I know we often verge into classic 80s and 90s casting cliches, but apparently there's a lot to suggest that Arnie was properly offered a role in this movie. Schwarzenegger.
No way.
But it's not clear what role. And apparently he said he regrets not doing it. And he did Eraser instead. But he might have been Goodspeed, or he might have been Mason. I think they're thinking it was Goodspeed.
I can't imagine Arnie being the bad guy.
Are you defining that as Ed Harris?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, there's quite a few bad guys and there's quite a few good guys. Yes, I'm saying the bad guy is Ed Harris. I couldn't imagine him being Ed Harris. I can imagine him being one of the sort of henchmen or the captains that have gone bad, but also it's not a big enough role for him. I can't imagine him being Goodspeed. And I can't imagine him being Mason either. I just can't picture that at all.
I think if you put Schwarzenegger in this movie, it probably would have ended up being cliched 80s, 90s fare, rather than the kind of, I don't want to say cult classic, but it's kind of got a little bit of respect for it.
It totally does. For a balls out action movie, it's got a bit of depth in places. It does play out not just as a full on action movie.
Let's talk about the casting and the directing of it. Can't start anywhere else other than Sean Connery.
Yes, why not?
Do you want to just open with your quote that you did last week? Because it was so good.
Losers always whine about their best. Winners come home and fuck the prom queen.
It was better last week. Apparently, according to Jerry Bruckheimer, Sean, it was difficult to get hold of, and we had to convince him. It took 6 weeks of hard lifting on the screenplay to try and basically convince him to do the role. He said Sean worked really hard on it. Sean wants the where, when and why on every line. It wasn't meant for Connery, and they totally reconceived the script to make the role fit him, because apparently it was going to be an American prisoner to begin with. But Michael Bay said that Sean Connery wanted approval on everything on the day. It's
quite interesting, isn't it? I mean, because I can totally see why it would just be an American prisoner. It would be an easier story to write. Instead, they had to sort of develop this backstory.
Yeah, it's got more depth because of it.
Yeah.
I think Connery's great in this.
Totally. I've got a lot of time for it.
And he's even unexpected sometimes, some of the things he does and the way he does them.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting to hear him swear. He swears quite often in this film.
We'll do favourite lines later, and I've got many a Connery swearing line in there. We'll get into the Bond thing later, but he plays it as Bond, really. I mean, if you call this character James Bond, you go, yeah, that's James Bond.
Yeah.
He's what, 66? Yeah. Brilliant.
Must be, I suppose.
If I'm that agile and sexy, that's 66.
Ah, yes. You know, I like the fact they introduced his daughter as well, and you got to meet his daughter. I thought that was a nice thing. That didn't have to happen, but it was good.
What do you think of Nicolas Cage?
I love Nicolas Cage because I love the sheer mentalness of all his films. I mean, he's done every sort of genre. He's kind of like Jim Carrey in his kind of, he's got this kind of plasticine kind of thing, but he's not really, I mean, he has done some comedy stuff, but he's got this kind of way of acting. He'll be suddenly acting straight and then he'll be someone completely different within 5 seconds later. It's just amazing how he pulls it off.
I mean, you take Jim Carrey and Nicolas Cage, and that almost defines the 90s acting style. Over the top.
Absolutely. He is wickedly over the top. Yeah.
When you think about some of the films we've already done and how we've complimented the acting for being quite natural and almost underplayed, here we are in 1996, gone completely the other way.
I know.
But I can't help but love him. The movie starts off, and I was almost thinking to myself, crikey, yeah, he's not hamming this up half as much as I remember him doing. He's actually quite relaxed and chilled in the first third or so, maybe. But eventually it just becomes so inconsistent. It just randomly switches from this scared, out of his depth character to classic Cage lunatic.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. That sums it up. And it's funny because, you know, he clearly starts out as this really good professional. You know, he's sitting in the office and they're all a bit bored down the FBI, and then suddenly you get this package and he switches into sort of, you know, his mode of gonna open this baby up, and, you know, doll sort of character, and the smoke starts coming out of it. And, oh Christ, he's obviously very, very good at what he does, very cool at what he does, works well under pressure. And then suddenly, I don't know, there's some pressure on him, and he's like, oh, actually, I'm not too sure about this. I'm a little bit scared. And then suddenly, like, it is so inconsistent, but we can totally forgive that because it's Nicolas Cage and we love it.
Wow, yeah. You take the character that he is, which is, you know, it's kind of scared and out of his depth at times, and then you just see him, cuts to him at home in his apartment. He's just laying there with his guitar, like looking like a fucking legend.
I know.
That's just Nicolas Cage.
Did you notice the guitar?
I didn't.
I thought it was a 335 in white. It looked gorgeous. But then I noticed the E, so actually it was an Epiphone.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Because you had a 335 at one point, didn't you?
335, yeah, but mine was cherry red. But he's only on that nuclear weapons wage.
Yes.
Ed Harris. I mean,
yes.
He sells the whole movie for me. It rests entirely on his shoulders. I'm not sure anyone could have done this better. He straddles that line perfectly.
Yeah, I think his acting, and this was outstanding. I love him in Apollo 13. I know he does Mission Control.
Was that sequel to Apollo 12?
Yes, that's right. Yes, which is a sequel to Apollo 11, etc., etc. No, he's great. He's been in a great many movies, and he is superb in this. Superb.
There are so many great actors in this. I mean, we could spend all day talking about just 1 minute on each, and we'd be here for the whole duration of the podcast. Outside the main cast of Cage, Connery, and Bean and Harris. Bean, I mean, Michael Bean's in this movie.
I know. God. It pops up leading that SWAT team going in. It's like, oh, that's that guy from, the Terminator.
He's kind of the Drew Barrymore in Scream in this, in that he's kind of almost entirely wasted, I think, to kind of prove the point that they're vulnerable.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
But we also get the late Tony Todd, William Forsythe, David Morse, your mate John C. McGinley, John Spencer, Bokeem Woodbine, Jim Caviezel was in this very briefly, Xander Berkeley's in this briefly, Raymond Cruz, who I'm always like, Luenell, if you remember Luenell, you might have recognised her from Borat. She was in the prison. Apparently Ron Simmons is in this, who was a wrestler in the WCW back in the day, also known as Farouk in the WWE. I couldn't spot him anywhere. I think he's like a guard or something on Alcatraz.
Right.
No idea. But Michael Biehn, brilliant in this. If anything, good but a bit dull. Do you know what I mean? Until they get trapped and he does that amazing speech, kind of underused. Does not a lot, does an amazing speech, dead.
You're absolutely right. I guess he's just a man doing a job.
I like his communication with Ed Harris, that scene where they sort of face to face. You can tell they've got that respect for each other. That really worked for me.
We both do the same job, but all of a sudden we find ourselves on opposite sides of the aisle. It's a bit weird, isn't it?
Is that the line?
No, sounds good though, doesn't it?
You did really well.
The whole film is full of the classic, it's that guy from that film. It's that guy that you don't actually know their names, but it's like, you see him in all the things. And the film is chock full of those people.
Yeah.
Very guy heavy. There's a lot of guys in this film, not many female roles at all, apart from his girlfriend and his daughter.
What women do we need in this? His girlfriend and his daughter. Simon Old Guy on Instagram calls this maybe the greatest supporting cast in action movie history. You know what? Might be right.
Yeah, I'll totally agree with that. It's literally all of the people. Yeah.
Michael Bay. Just a little background on Michael Bay. When he was 15, he worked at Lucasfilm and he was working on Raiders of the Lost Ark. And he was working on storyboards. And he told his friends that Spielberg was making this movie and it was going to be terrible.
What?
Yeah, I know. But Jerry Bruckheimer really praised how hard Michael Bay worked on all of his movies back then. He said he was really prepared and just worked all hours. But I think he does a great job in this movie. He combines like great elements of mystery, intriguing characters like John Mason. The setting of Alcatraz is really cool. It sort of blurs the moral lines. And I was sort of remembering this as being more over the top than it was, at least in the first half. Bay's just a bit more restrained in his sort of younger years. I mean, I know he's just done Bad Boys and this is a bit fucking mental at times. But for Michael Bay, this is good Michael Bay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to think about some of his other films that I've seen. I know I'm not one of his biggest fans in the world. I think I saw Transformers and didn't really like it. It's not really my bag. And
it's not my bag, baby.
Yeah, this sort of thing isn't my bag, baby. He just done Bad Boys. That's interesting because this is also sort of buddy cop, where the two guys, have to form a bond and have to work together to get the job done kind of thing. There is a theme there. And I wonder how much he took from Lethal Weapon because there's one point Connery says to Cage, I'm getting too old for this shit. Or I'm too old for this shit. And I wondered if that was like a bit of a nod to Lethal Weapon or something like that.
I'm just going to read out Michael Bay's films, right? And I just want you to say good, bad, or haven't seen it.
Okay.
There's not many. Bad Boys.
Good.
Armageddon.
Oh, mate, did he do Armageddon? That was all right.
Okay, good. Pearl Harbor.
Not seen it. I've heard bad things, which is why I've not seen it, to be honest.
Speaking of bad things, Bad Boys 2.
I think I've seen it, but doesn't stick in my mind.
We'll go good. The Island. Do you remember that movie with Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson?
Ewan McGregor. I really like that.
I love that movie.
Really like that film. I really like Ewan McGregor, so I'm biased.
I really like Scarlett Johansson, so I'm biased. And Ewan McGregor, because he's in Star Wars. Ding, ding. Transformers.
I never really got into Transformers, and I saw the film and thought it was crap.
I'm just going to go Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, Transformers Dark of the Moon. All pretty crap. The best Transformers movie is Bumblebee, which he produced but didn't direct. Pain and Gain.
Never heard of it.
13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. Haven't seen that.
Oh, I have seen that. That's about the... I have, because it's a true story. And it's got that actor in who's actually really good, and he played
John
Jack
C.
Reacher. Yeah, John C. McGinley's in it. That's a good film. Good film.
There's
Have a
another
look, have a look.
Transformers movie then, Six Underground. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, that's with that guy that owns a football club in Wales.
Ryan Reynolds. Ambulance, you said you haven't seen?
Never heard of it.
If you take Transformers out, it's not that bad, really.
He's done some all right films, yeah. I just didn't realise he'd done these films. That's the thing. I don't actually realise.
Anyway, let's talk about visuals and VFX.
Let's.
I really like the VX gas and that whole sort of missile design as a MacGuffin. I think it's nice to see some round green balls and some glass.
I think they do this all the time, and they have to take it out, and it clinks and stuff, and it goes, "Oh, be careful!" I like it. I like the design of it. It is. It's cool. It's cool. Quite why they designed it like that, but it looks cool. It's like, oh, and you got the chip in the middle and all that sort of jazz. It does give you a sense of, oh, got to be careful, or else it will come crashing down.
There's a really cool coin flip spin on a table VFX shot, which I thought was really good. But there's also a lot of practical stunts in this film, and they're quite, I wouldn't say they're over the top with VFX in this, but there's a shot when Mason throws Womack over the building and he's sort of hanging on, and in sort of the shots over the top, you can see quite clearly it looks nothing like the actor John Spencer, who it's meant to be. He's just a stunt man hanging around. But I really liked that it was a real stunt and they hadn't tried to CGI the actor into it. It just worked better, even if I mean, so much CGI these days stand out. But also, a lot of the passers-by that are walking down the street at the time didn't know it was a movie being made, and they just started calling 911.
Brilliant. I do love a good stunt. There's quite a few. There's quite a few where you can see it's quite clearly not Connery. The build is slightly different, or there's a couple of scenes where he's doing whatever he's doing wherever he's doing it. It's like that's not Connery. But hey, look, it's a Michael Bay film, so we'll let it go.
There's some classic San Francisco car street chase type things in this, but it goes very Michael Bay when we get that Mason the crash into the water bottle truck when the bottles go flying and suddenly everything goes in slow motion. It's just over the top, unnecessary crashes and explosions happening everywhere. And Connery, very, very Bond-like, just goes, "I hope you're insured." What was the accent?
I don't know what that was.
Sure.
I love it.
You do it.
I hope you're insured. I can't do it either.
No, it is.
I can't.
It's a tough one.
It is.
And then fucking Nicolas Cage suddenly drops this Stanley Goodspeed character and becomes Nicolas Cage for a car chase.
I know.
There's a moment when this old woman is in the road crossing in front of the tram. It's just fucking ridiculous. It's like hunched over with a stick, and she's like probably barely 40 years old. And I think my partner just went, "Fuck off."
It seems to be a recurring theme.
It just stood out so much. And then after this car goes like racing by, out of nowhere come three guys in wheelchairs.
I know, but the thing with the wheelchairs is nothing really happens with them. Like, you don't see any more, and I think I've made a note of this later on, and nothing, like, you see these guys in the wheelchairs, it's like, oh shit, something's about to go down, and nothing happens. And it makes me wonder if something ended up on the cutting room floor, but they left that little scene in of the guys in the wheelchairs. It's like, well, okay, what happened? I'm expecting, because, like, something to happen, and nothing does.
And then the fucking tram, it's been coming down the hill, and then suddenly it launches perfectly vertically in the air. And he even throws in that classic Michael Bay hero camera move for good measure. The camera sort of looks up at Cage as it moves around. But the tram was a practical stunt. Yeah. They did it with like air rams and stuff. And then they used CGI to add flames and remove the rams. And I was watching some behind the scenes of how they made it. God, it looked primitive what they were having to do this with. But I think the final result, I think, looks really good. The only reason I picked up on it, and I watched it several times, that specific clip. So I was watching this on the ferry going to Mykonos the other day, and I was working with with my colleague, and he was sitting in the seat next to me, and I kept watching this scene over and over again. He's like, "Oh, what's up with that?" And I said, "Well, look, this thing's happened. It's hit a car, and the car's exploded, and for some bizarre reason, this tram's just gone whoop, straight up, and all these flames are underneath it. And it's like, why? What's explosive on this tram?" And it looks ridiculous, and you can see the flames have quite clearly been CGI'd, because they've got these like vertical, these horizontal flames that are coming over, and flames here, and then it just crashes back. Like, why? But also, just looks great. And actually, if you don't
like, if you don't analyze it because you're doing a podcast, it's just great. It's a tram blowing up, whatever. It's like, yeah, that's cool. There's no need for it. There's this other bit where this car hits this other car and like, and then flips. But it doesn't hit the car at all. Like it doesn't. It just, there's a ramp quite clearly behind the car, and it just drives over this car and blows up, or Christ knows what else. I'd forgotten about this scene in the film, to be fair, and it's only when he got in the Humvee and then the Ferrari, I was like, oh yeah, this whole thing happens in San Francisco, and they just fucking go over it. I just felt the only thing that was missing was like two dudes with like a glass sheet, a big pane of glass walking across the road. And then Ferrari going through it or something like that. That would have been quite fun.
Oh, baby, the pram.
Yeah. Classic.
Oh, God. What did you think of the real-time wireframe render of the ocean floor from those little underwater mini submarine type things?
For 96, the whole... and I talk about this later as well, I think. It felt pretty modern apart from that. I didn't buy that at all. That felt very like, what is this, Tron?
Yeah, it didn't fit for me at all.
No.
But maybe that's looking at it in hindsight. Maybe in 96 we went, fucking hell, that's brilliant.
I've got a lot to say about that whole scene anyway, but we'll get to that later.
The end scene with Nicolas Cage, I'm sort of jumping to the end because we're talking about visual effects, and this is about visual effects. I mean, that is iconic. That's almost the 90s version of Platoon.
Yes, I'll do that. I'll take that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That was a stand-in shot from behind, holding the flares.
No way.
Because it was, I assume because it was a VFX shot, and they maybe shot that really early on so they could work on the VFX. And then the planes are added with CGI. Now, I'll be honest, didn't realise those planes were CGI.
I had no idea. Genuinely no idea.
They properly, like, I was looking at, again, this behind the scenes with this really primitive 96 technology, which... You think back to 96, right? And I felt like in 96 we had a lot of technology. We didn't have the internet commonly in 96. We don't even think we had mobile phones. The idea of digital cameras was still dog shit.
Yeah, totally.
So I think that, like, now this would be, I mean, someone make it fucking easily, but for your average person, you can't just make, you probably can with fucking AI. This whole conversation is redundant.
Yes.
But the results are great. Like, I would argue that this scene looks better as they did it in 96 than a lot of, if they did it again now, someone would make it look clearly like VFX.
I think throughout the film, it was amazing to think it was a 96 production. I think it's aged so well. Nice jugs. Mug. Nice. It's aged exceptionally well. You could have told me it was a film from the noughties and I would have believed you. My son's watching Terminator 3 at the moment. We just turned it off just now so we could do this podcast.
Rise of the Machines.
It's awful. Oh my God, it's crap. It's so bad. And that was 2003, 2004. And it feels dated. They got these old flip phones and it's just crap. This film, 10 years before that was made, doesn't feel dated at all. It's great. Yeah. Really, really good.
Let's move on to music.
Let's.
This is the first time that Michael Bay and Hans Zimmer had worked together. It wouldn't be the last. Now, the opening scene, I know you sort of praised it earlier, talking about the start of the movie.
No, I didn't praise it. I just said music happened.
You just said it was loud.
It was loud. I did not praise it in any way, shape or form. Do not mix my words here.
I was torn on if it's just a bit generic.
It is totally generic, military stirring music, isn't it?
But is it generic now? Because we've had a lot of it. We did Crimson Tide fairly recently, which is a bit samey. But actually, I thought there are subtleties to it that really lift the emotion and support that kind of Ed Harris storyline. Mm-hmm. There's a moment in this where my partner chuckled because, yet again, the music goes a bit Pirates of the Caribbean.
Not a bit. It is basically Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm not sure which bit it is. I did write it down in my other notes and I didn't transfer them across to here, but it's just like, well, that's Pirates of the Caribbean. Exactly.
Pirates. And this goes, something like that, isn't it?
But John Williams, John Williams from a mile off, it's the same. Hans Zimmer, his scores, who's writing the songs.
I mean, Hans is very inventive and original later in his career, like when he comes to Batman. We've talked about this before. But in the 90s, like, you got Crimson Tide, you'll have Pirates not that far away. It just feels a bit samey.
Would you listen to it in your car?
No, I listened to it earlier while writing my notes for this.
I was listening to it when I was writing the notes up when I was on the ferry coming back from Mykonos. I was writing all these notes up. It does. It does.
That main theme is actually quite nice and iconic and memorable.
I didn't dislike listening to the music at all.
I don't know why when he meets his daughter there's some sort of Irish music playing. Is there any connection to Ireland in this?
I could only think it's because he's Scottish and it's all a bit Celtic-y, you know?
Yeah.
Because when Cage ends up in the sea and Connery comes down to rescue him, and then suddenly there's this like whimsical Irish music playing because it really stands out. Like, where are we going with this?
I know on the soundtrack, I think that the Irish vibe thing, at least at the halfway point, is called Jade, which is the name of his daughter. So I don't know whether there's any suggestion that his daughter had an Irish mother or something. But my thought on it was basically they went, oh, he's Scottish. That's the same as Irish.
That's all I can think.
And then there's a point where they're entering the Alcatraz tunnels and the music it doesn't feel like it's doing the right job. I'm here talking about Hans Zimmer doing a musical job. Legend.
One of the best.
Musical failure.
I know.
However, but like it's just still it's really uplifting and heroic as they're going in. And surely it should be more tension based. I'm picking at it only because it's Hans bloody Zimmer who's a legend. But like, I don't know, it just struck me as, well, this doesn't feel like the right mood.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Let's move on to the things we want to talk about.
Let's do that.
Would you like to go first?
When they're going and he rolls through all the fire and all that stuff. Like, why is there fire? Why the fuck's there fire? Like, what if they just restoked all the boilers and stuff? I know it's a museum and stuff like that.
And where the cogs are going round.
I know. I mean, this is very like Indiana Jones and a bit, you know, and all that sort of jazz. And he opens the door. All he says is, you know, welcome to Alcatraz. It's like, oh. And it just felt like it could be, welcome to the Rock. And it could have been such a bigger thing.
Say the name of the movie.
You know, he just said, oh, right, welcome to the... No, that's terrible. That's... I don't know what accent.
Right there.
Well, hey, welcome to the Rock. It just falls flat, like me, on its face. And I just felt it was a missed opportunity. It could have been such a bigger moment. Welcome to the Rock.
It was just such an obvious kind of, we need to put an obstacle in their way. Let's have some rotating cogs and some fire. It was almost like a video game obstacle. Yeah. Someone on the internet pointed out why, you know, if he's trying to escape, why would he go through the fire and the cogs when he's just come through the door that he could have gone through on the way out?
I wanted to know, he's memorized it, like it's all in my mind. And okay, that's cool, but coming out, not going back in. Surely.
Well, I'd have to reverse it.
Yeah, right. God, tell me about some of your stuff.
I'm going to talk about the Bond theory that we've sort of alluded to.
Nice. I'm
not a fan of fan theories. Normally, they're very desperate and based on next to nothing. Like that one of Lucius Fox from Batman being, I think it was meant to be Detective Somerset from Seven. Like those kind of linking things together.
God,
2 and 2 making 5. Ridiculous. Anyway, this is one of the better ones. And we have to go into it because Phil Dargan on Instagram asked us to. I hope I haven't slaughtered his surname there. Apologies, Phil, if that's wrong. So the theory is this. It's that John Mason is James Bond.
I'll support that.
And here's 4 things that I think support that theory. 1, when talking about Mason, Womack mentions 1962, which, as a Bond fan you will know that was the year of the very first Bond film, Dr. No. So immediately, there's a connection.
Ding, ding.
Number 2, says he was trained by British intelligence.
Absolutely.
Doesn't say MI6, but I'll take it.
No, he's SAS.
Is that what he says?
Yes. Or he does, or someone says it at some point.
That sort of goes against the theory.
Yeah.
And then at one point, this is the bit that really cottoned me onto it, was he says a line that I absolutely associate with Bond. Cage says, I'm Stanley Goodspeed. And he says, well, of course you are. Which is a classic Bond line. He said that in Diamonds Are Forever, when she says, hi, I'm Plenty. And he says, of course you are. And it's also said by Daniel Craig in Quantum of Solace, when Strawberry Fields says, Mr. Bond, my name is Fields. I'm from the consulate. And James Bond says, of course you are.
I mean, there's going to be nods. You're obviously going to go down the Bond road. Yes, it's Bond. I like that fan theory. I'll definitely go with it. Well done, Phil.
Let me give you one more.
Oh, we got more. Go on.
Yeah. Earlier, I mentioned Dick Clement and Ian Lafreniere.
Yes.
One thing I didn't say they worked on was Never Say Never Again, the unofficial Bond film from 1983, starring Sean Connery. So we obviously just wanted more Bond-esque lines or enjoyed working with them or whatever. But yeah. Oh, by the way, that movie, I don't know if you know this, 'cause I know you're a big Bond fan, so you might know it. But that movie was written by our old friend, Lorenzo Semple Jr., who wrote Flash Gordon.
No way. How about that? I didn't know that.
Is that why it's terrible?
That's not a Bond film as far as I'm concerned. I put that to one side with Casino Royale.
I might go deeper into this Bond theory stuff in the Fast Forward episode next week, because there's loads to it, and I don't want to take up any more of our time.
Right, diving. Fuck.
Oh, fuck. Here we go.
Right.
There's the next half an hour taken up.
Oh my God! Right, so I'll bosh through it really, really quickly.
Shall I put you
Jump
on
in
a
if you
timer?
want to. Yeah, absolutely. Right, so straight out of the bat, camouflage, awful. It's just straight lines on their faces. It's not even well done. It's just awful. And their foreheads are shiny. All the production lights are shiny off their heads. They'd stick out like no, absolutely not. Awful camouflage. Cage sitting in there fucking around with his own scuba gear. He doesn't have a clue what he's doing. Bottles going off. He's got a mask on his head, which actually is quite cool because that does show that he doesn't really know what he's doing, because no one ever puts scuba masks on their head, as I taught you many years ago. And he's just got like this generic 10-litre bottle of air that he's like, fucking hell, I don't know what I'm doing with this. The guy next to him has actually got a chest-mounted O2 rebreather. It's kind of funny, but like, God, don't be silly, you know.
I mean, this is niche funny to the audience that knows about this.
Oh God, it's just right. Doors open and everyone good to go. Everyone's like, yeah, good to go. No one's got a mask on. Cage, suddenly he's got a rebreather in his mouth. It's like, well, where did that come from? And also, that takes so much training to use those things. You can't just put one of those in your mouth and, yeah, let's go then. It's all right. Was it? No, just no.
You know that moment where Connery has to interrupt him and turn it off for him? At that point, he's fucking dead. He's done.
They've got nice DPVs, diver propulsion vehicles, right? But they're all kicking. Like, no, you turn them on and you don't move. Like, just stop that. When they're underwater, you can hear open circuit scuba. So you can hear the Darth Vader noises, if you like, a couple of times, which they've done in post, because it's like, make it sound like they're scuba diving. No, because they're all on rebreathers. It's completely silent because they're doing stealth access to a place, absolutely not. That's rubbish. You've got this little submersible thing that's going along, but they're going along, and on the computer screen, it says they're doing 67 kilometers an hour. Underwater? I'm sorry. You're not doing 67 kilometers an hour underwater. No.
You're taking your head off.
Fucking bubbles everywhere. It's like with their rebreathers, so they don't make bubbles. There's just bubbles. Like, that's not very stealthy. They get out the water and into this kind of thing, and they all look cool. Don't get me wrong. They come up out the water, that's looking good. And they get out the water. Their guns are fucking rattling. Guns don't rattle. They don't make noises like that. They're all clanking and shit. It's like, no. The one really cool redeeming feature is they all get into a Sea King, the helicopter. And you'll know the Sea King from
my time in the military.
It's classified.
Right, your 5 minutes is up.
Right, all right, go on. You next.
That's 5 minutes filled. Do you feel better now?
I do. So I had to get that off. It pissed me off.
Can you imagine if I just cut that entire section out the end?
Please do. I don't mind. I've told you now. I've ranted.
Speaking of cut, Connery's cut. He had a long old wig on at the start of this, didn't he?
He did.
Then he had a haircut, which was also a wig, because he's famously bald all his career.
Yep.
Some say even from the very first Bond film, which I never realised.
I didn't realise that. I know he was bald later, and I didn't know throughout Bond he was bald. Jesus.
Apparently he never wore a wig in public, but just only for roles when needed.
I thought it was later in life. I thought, for this film, I presumed he was bald, but I certainly thought during the Bond years he had hair. Wow.
There's some discussion as to whether in the first Bond film it was his own hair or not, but apparently between the first and the third there's quite a change or something. Anyway, Connery's hair. Next.
There's a brilliant hero shot, and I absolutely love it. It's such a good moment when he gets out of the Ferrari that's been totaled, and he stands tall, and it tracks from his right to left, and he sort of just turns up and looks over there, and the camera's down here tracking. It's just such a great shot. That hero shot of Cage.
Classic Michael Bay.
Brilliant. It is classic Michael Bay. They goes
on to use
Bad Boys,
in every other movie he ever does.
But it is so good. It's such a good shot. I love that.
If we're filming and we want to recreate something like that, we should do the Michael Bay. I didn't expect them to get caught so early in the mission. Even watching this time, it's been a while since I've seen it. But it's the perfect setup for the rest of the story. kill them off and leave it to Connery and Cage. I mean, they get caught in a literal bloodbath because they're in the showers.
It's the noise they're making. I mean, they saw them coming a mile off with all those bubbles. That's the trouble.
But I really like that scene. I thought it was very powerful. They probably know they're going to die.
It was the first moment that you really saw that he was losing control of his men. They were trigger happy and they just wanted them gone. He never said shoot, fire or what have you. And he couldn't control them. He said, ceasefire. So it gives you that moment that, he's losing control of his men. It gives you the sense that maybe not all is well here.
And this is just a brilliant standoff, which ends in utter tragedy.
I like the bit when they're taking over at the beginning and he goes up to this group of children and he says, I need you to go to your teachers or whatever and make sure you get off this island now. And that's like, it makes you sympathise with the bad guy. He's not totally evil. All right, he's taking hostages of adults and stuff. He's letting the children go, It sets up, the story. It sets up the character.
He's trying to do a bad thing in a good way.
Yeah.
But speaking of that scene, can you imagine if a child comes over to you and you're a teacher and says, Miss, that man said we have to leave the island right away. Oh, okay. Excuse me, sir. Going back to Ed Harris and Hummel, I really like that it was a moral issue that he was dealing with, and he was never intending to be a real threat. Like when they're trying to pressure him to launch it, he says, do you think I'm a lunatic and I'm going to kill 80,000 people? It really makes this movie different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where is the heart?
Sort of upper left
upper
side.
Left.
Upper left.
Because when Cage has to stab himself in the heart to avoid dying from the thing, he looks to have missed by about 4 to 6 inches. He sort of stabs himself in the pancreas. I don't know if that would have done the job.
I don't know. I'd have to watch it again to see that. But you say that, though. I was talking to someone recently who's ex-RAF. They used to train with atropine. Atropine. They used to train with this for nuclear, biological, whatever, warfare kind of thing when they were in the RAF. And you stab in the thigh, not to the heart. Adrenaline is to the heart. So there you go.
I've got 2 more. And they're both going to end up being teasers at this point.
Okay.
The Gulf War, the one about chemical weapons in Iraq.
Yes. Yep.
This film caused it.
Okay. Yep. Elaborate.
No.
What?
No, I'm going to talk about more on Fast Forward.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay.
I wanted to talk about it now, but A, we're running short of time, and B, I haven't fully looked into it. But that's all you need to know. I'll do the short version. They had intelligence that came from someone who had basically just seen this movie, and that was mistaken for basically the whole smoking gun of why they invaded.
What?
No word of a lie. That's genuine.
I'm looking forward to this Fast Forward episode.
Yeah, so am I. Another one I'll tease is the sequel. They were planning.
I mean, it makes sense because this film was huge. Why wouldn't you?
It's going to be Nicolas Cage and his wife on the run with a microfilm, possibly being assisted by Mr. Mason. And my brief research also threw up a potential prequel about John Mason, but I can't find anything concrete on it, so that's the end of that.
Well, there's 25 films, isn't there? 26 films.
Apparently there was talk around whether there would be a prequel based on perhaps how he ended up in Alcatraz the first time.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much of it's true. So about the end of the movie, I'll be honest, the last third of this, I bordered on losing interest. But the Hummel angle about the morality of it just about sort of kept me hanging in there. We have that iconic image of Cage waving the green flares. It's nicely intercut with the planes, his girlfriend, and the communication center. Then we get that great moment of abort. And I already dropped them. I don't know why the pilot's doing this. But, that's really good. I really like how they cut that together. It felt really tense. But I feel like they could have just played that tension of whether they were alive or not, whether Cage and Connery were alive or not, just for a bit longer.
A bit longer, yeah.
We see the explosion and almost immediately find out that they both survived. But at the same time, we're seeing the girlfriend and the comms team don't know, and it's all just sort of underplays it a bit.
I think at this point I was actioned out. There's a lot of action happening, and the sort of last third of the movie is very much like, Christ, all right, you've got to fight this guy now, and he's got a knife, and oh my god, okay.
And then we go to the church in Kansas, which is I think that's a great little extra ending. I think I like the change of tone. It's a bit lighthearted, but the microfilm stashed in the leg, and they have to they steal the leg of the church pew felt massively unnecessary.
They're in the middle of nowhere. I mean, did they get married there? Because they're in a just married car with all the things on the back and stuff. It's just
how it looked. I do love the honey. want to know who killed JFK line. I thought that was really good.
He looks just like Raoul Duke from Fear and Loathing at the end. I think he's dressed up like Hunter S. Thompson, basically. He looks just like the same.
But yes, this was also not made in tribute, but dedicated to Don Simpson, the producer, infamous partner of Jerry Bruckheimer, who made loads of movies together. He died halfway through making it. They did things like Crimson Tide together. Bruckheimer was very fond of him, and they seemed to be passionate partners, and even though they lived quite opposite lifestyles, but he seemed quite cut up about his death, Jerry Bruckheimer.
I suppose you would be, really. I noticed that, the ending's quite nice, and they're driving off into the sunset with the microfilm, and it's nice music. And then what happens, it's quite jarring. The credits roll, and it's that military music again. It's like, bam, that music again. Oh, God, all right, Jesus, we just had all of that. Like, you're back to it. Please stop.
Let's move on to favourite scenes and lines. I'll go first. Nicolas Cage says to John Mason, that's not right, why don't we cut the chit-chat a-hole?
Classic Cage.
Ridiculous.
He's trying to convince him to come back to help finish the job, and he's like, no. And he's like, well, fine. I've got 3 weeks of weapons training.
It was almost like he said it to go, look, I'm fucked without you.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
I did think the gay stylist was unnecessary and out of place.
Oh, I really liked him. I thought that was great. Completely out of place.
Yeah. However, a line that made us chuckle was when he's with Mason and he's in the lift after he's thrown Womack off the building. And the stylist is being really scared, and he said something like, I don't want to know anything, and I don't care that you threw that man off the balcony. All I care about is, are you happy with your haircut? I would have loved to have seen Connery in that moment. Oh, God.
There's a bit where Connery is having hand-to-hand combat with one of the bad guys. And the bad guy says, English prick. Did I tell you my old man was Irish? And proceeds to, punch him and stuff. Now, this is such a missed opportunity because he's Scottish for a start. Why didn't he deliver that line when, he'd hit him or drop something, or however he dispatched him? Why didn't he say well, I'm Scottish, or something, not just nothing happened. It's like, English prick. It's like, well, yeah, all right, I'm not English, or something.
Yeah, is it some trying to allusion to the IRA or something like?
I don't know. I think he was just saying, because of the English and the Irish, it's like, oh, you're an English prick. My old man's Irish, so we're not going to have a good time with each other. And I'm just surprised that Connery didn't turn around and just, I don't know, say well, I'm Scottish. It would have just fit nicely.
I'm terrible with understanding international relations, so...
oh, really? I thought you had international relations.
Very good. One of my favorites. This is definitely up there with one of my favorites. After that soldier gets his head crushed by the AC unit that fell on top of him,
Yes.
Nicolas Cage says, "You've been around a lot of corpses. Is that normal?" Because his foot's wagging around. "Can you do something about it?" And Connery just says, "What, like kill him again?"
I love your Connery accents.
It's terrible. It's worse than my
awful.
Nelson
It's brilliant.
Mandela. Kind of.
Yeah. There's this bit where, I don't know, they're in the whatever control room or wherever they are. I don't even remember whether it's the good guys or bad guys at this point, but you've got the green glow from all the instruments like they're on a submarine or something nuts. And they're trying to listen to stuff. And the guy's like, quiet. But literally no one's talking. I mean, there is no noise. It just felt really out of place.
There's a bit where Cage says, Mason has fallen off the minecart track thing. And Goodspeed says, "Mason, are you all right?" And Connery just says, "Yes, perfectly okay. You fucking idiot." I've got Russian.
What? It's fucking German or something. Christ.
I've gone on Henning Venn. Oh no, where have I come from? Yes, I'm doing my generic European accent.
You're just being Dutch. You're Dutch now.
You fucking idiot. Back to cut. I've just ruined this whole thing by not being able to do a Sean Connery impression.
I just love it when he gets phoned on the car phone in the Humvee and he says, "Yes, you have my Humvee." And he's like, "Yes, I'm only borrowing your Humvee."
If this podcast is based on impressions, we should just be cancelled. This is the worst we've ever done.
I think we should have been cancelled a long time ago, to be honest.
You did a really good Sean Connery last week, and I don't know where it's gone this week.
It's because I'm trying now. I wasn't trying last week. That's the trouble.
There's the ZEUS Butthole line. I can't be bothered to do it.
No,
It's just
I've already, yeah.
fucking ridiculous.
Where did that come from? It feels like Nicolas
Who wrote
Cage
that?
might have just
That's
written.
a Tarantino line.
It might have been, or it might have been Nicolas Cage. He might have done that, or I just ad-libbed it or something. There's obviously the losers always run about the best. That's a classic line from it that I've always remembered.
Have you done the line? You did it earlier.
I did it earlier. I did it last week, and I did it.
Get the fuck the prom queen, man.
Losers always whine about their best. Winners come home and fuck the prom queen.
Better.
Oh, it's all right, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. I really like the line. You're the rocket man.
Yes.
As he shoots the rocket through him or into him. Oh God!
I thought we were going to have a bit more like Beatles related stuff because he talks about Beatles at the beginning and stuff like that. There was it seemed to set up for him being into music with the guitar and the albums and stuff, and nothing really.
Yeah, never went anywhere.
I like it when he gets after that hero shot. He's got out of the Ferrari, and some kid on a motorbike rides up and is like, "He fucked up your Ferrari, man." He's like, "It's not mine. Neither's this." Just kicks him off his bike or whatever and drives off on his motorcycle.
Oh God! A quick bit on trivia and deleted scenes.
Let's do it.
Apparently Sean Connery didn't want to do all the boat trips to and from the island for filming all the time, so he requested they build him a cabin on Alcatraz that he could stay in, and they did it.
Amazing.
I'm going to put the word apparently on a lot of these. Not apparently, but true. Michael Bay was having some trouble with the studio executives sort of being on his ass a bit and giving him grief.
It's what happens when you make a film in Hollywood, it seems.
Yeah. But apparently Connery was brilliant and backed him up the whole way, even had a meeting with the executives and told him that Michael Bay was doing a great job and to leave him the fuck alone.
Brilliant. Bay's doing a brilliant job. Leave him the fuck alone.
When he's initially escaping from the hotel, John Mason, and he runs into the elevator where the stylist is, he presses the button on the door for the doors to close, and the doors don't close on the elevator. And there's a brilliant blooper that is on the internet that I'll link to, where Connery just goes, "Close, you cunt!"
No way.
It's great.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, "It's just not fucking close." I can't. I've gone. I've absolutely lost the ability to do it. Oh, Christ. And just a quick thank you to the Matt Garvin on Instagram who tipped us off that they didn't treat the water properly on the set and it made everyone sick. Apparently, Connery asked for the water in the tunnels to be heated, and that's what caused the problem. Some sort of bacteria, one assumes. I had a quick look into it. Couldn't find any more on that.
Legionella or something. No.
Yeah. So apparently that was bad times. Now we need to rank the movie. And after we've ranked the movie, we will hear from some of our patrons who have some things to say about this movie.
Oh, excellent. B.
Oh, straight in.
Straight in, B. It's not an A. It's not. Definitely.
Have you accounted
definitely.
for your hatred of the diving scenes?
I have. I've accounted for that. I'll let it go because what I'm doing is I'm looking at it like, we're doing this podcast and I'm definitely looking at it like a diver and I'm looking at it like this and I'm looking at it with the knowledge that I have and it's like, no, do you know what? I need to not do that and just step back and watch it as an action film because otherwise, what's the point? It's an action film, for God's sake. And it's great. It was really good fun. I didn't actually watch it. I watched it on my own on the ferry, actually. I'd like to have watched it with the kids. I think that would have been good fun. It's just, it is a great action movie. There's nothing bad about it. It's not particularly brilliant. I really enjoyed it. B.
Normally we agonise over this section, and I feel like you're quite content to go and give it a B. There's not much thought required, and I'm not feeling any tension over it.
No.
Without viewing this again, I might have just come in here and gone, yeah, it's probably an A. I'm going with you. I'm going with a B.
What? Again?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not a C. Like it's a good movie.
That's the thing. I can't quite give it an A because there's nothing like staggeringly that was brilliant. You know, it's definitely not a C because it wasn't shit at all. Yeah, no, B. There's nothing wrong
Solid
with
movie.
being a B. Yeah, totally solid
Good,
movie.
fun old action movie.
Absolutely. I'll probably watch it again in 10 years and go, that was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about our patrons.
A
Do you
word
want to
from
go
our
and
sponsors?
do the first
Yeah.
one? Yeah, they are. They literally are our sponsors.
They literally are. For those of you that are watching, if you would like to join our Patreon, please join our Patreon at patreon.com Rewind Classic Movies.
Yeah, I was going to say head to the website rewindclassicmovies.com and there's a link to it there.
Brilliant. Do that.
And while I mention rewindclassicmovies.com, things are going to be a changing. We have some new things coming that I'm very excited about. As a place to visit, if you like old movies,
Oh.
I want
Exciting.
rewindclassicmovies.com to be one of the places you go.
Exciting.
More soon, unless you're on our Patreon as a member, and then we're telling you all about it.
We're telling you stuff before we're even knowing what's going on. Literally, in fact, patrons just tell us what to do and we do it for them, to be honest. So if you want to, get involved, and all of the naked pictures and photos and videos of me.
They're going down really well.
They are. I mean, it's what the people want, basically. Kat on Patreon said, just watched it again. Forgot how much I enjoy this film. Not quite S tier, but definitely an A.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm actually toying with S tier.
Ah, how about that?
I'm almost surprised because Kat has a military background, and then I think it was Crimson Tide where she was pretty brutal on some of the authenticity. So I'm almost surprised there wasn't more of an issue for her in this movie. Simon on Patreon said, I cannot begin to say how excited I am for the Rock episode. Thank you, Simon. It's coming out very soon. I love that film with a deep passion. Now, we've heard from Simon before, and he loves his movies, and I feel like he's not afraid to call out the shit movies, and I wasn't expecting Simon to be a fan of The Rock.
That's quite interesting.
He goes on to say, I had the great pleasure of meeting Michael Biehn at Comic-Con last year and asked him about that set. He effusively spoke about the people in the cast. Sounded amazing.
Wow.
Nice to hear that Michael Bihn's a good guy.
Met Michael Biehn. That's very, very cool. Fair play. I'm loving the fact that you're excited for The Rock. I'm glad that you're into this and digging it and deciding to listen to us ramble about stuff we shouldn't be rambling about. Sorry that I'm not love it with a deep passion. I totally enjoy it. Totally enjoy it. I really enjoy the film.
I'm intrigued as to what Simon would rank it in terms of the tier listing.
Yeah, Simon, let us know.
Interpret that as an S or an A.
That's going to be an S. I reckon if you love a film with a deep passion, that's an S, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
What do you say, Simon?
Right, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time with a movie from 1975. What the fuck? That can't happen. But AJ, give us a clue.
Strap in or strap on as we dive into a fishnet-fueled fever dream where sweet transvestites, singing aliens and sexual awakenings collide in the most fabulous train wreck. Damn it, Janet.
I haven't seen this movie. I've never seen this movie. And I don't know if that's made me want to see it more or never see it.
This is my favourite film of all time. This is
Which is the only reason we're watching it.
Which is the only reason we're watching it, and I cannot wait for you to watch it, and it's going to be so much fun doing this episode. I literally can't wait.
So it goes without saying you're giving it an S?
Absolutely, completely and
Before we
utterly.
even
Already done. Given it an S, I can't give it anything else. It is just phenomenal. I love it, and it's going to be like Marmite. And if you don't like musical theatre, then, well, it's all over, basically. Anyway, please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Rewind Classic Movies. If you want us to drop an email, it's rewindclassicmovies@gmail.com.
Anyway, in the meantime, if you want to listen to more things about The Rock, I'll be doing a fast forward episode to look at what happened after this movie came out, which is going to include maybe the sequel, the Iraq War, and maybe more Bond connections. Who knows? That's out next week. Say goodbye, AJ.
Goodbye, everybody. Yes.